Well, all right, you guys, good morning. Happy Elvis Presley's birthday. I would like to go over two quick stocks. I was hoping to get this done last night, so I'm going to do it quickly in the morning. This isn't a complete list of the stocks that I gave. I'll try to get it typed up. But just going down the list since the end of the year, Finger is down, GTII is down, and we need to let the market tell us what it wants to tell us. So I'm going to have to, I guess we'll let Ham talk about that. But those two are down. Logic is up nicely. It's up to basically 7 cents. CAUD is up. CAUD is up. Not a huge move, but it's up 11 cents or something like that. HNRC is up. I cannot quite read my writing, but it's basically 4 cents a share. That's nicely up. Vocal is down by less than half, but it's down. And I need to do an update on that, but I completely give up on that stock. There is no way that you can make money in Vocal. Now, you might if you have a hot hand, you're buying it and trading it, buying and trading it. The only caveat I give, it looks like Jeff Easton's on a campaign to prove he hasn't broken any laws. And maybe he'll make this his representation where he works with Jeremy to get this stock to go private, to somehow rally on a funding. But I think that's really grasping at straws. More likely is that Vocal needs funding, and despite, I'll do a separate video on that. There's some good stuff that Vocal has done, but it's the mortgage. It's not the house, it's the mortgage. It's not the piece of property, it's the mortgage. And he decided to take financing from the Lynn Partners, New York City, and it destroyed his company. And the Kramer's got a few blows in too. He did financing with them. He doesn't see anything wrong. So he may be right. And he certainly has to live with his decision. But to other CEOs, I advise you to stay away from the Lind Partners, New York City, and Power Up Lending or Diagonal Lending in Virginia, Power Up Lending in New York, all Kurt Kramer. And there's many others. These are not special people. They're just placement agents who are out there to be sacrificed once this all blows up. It's the funds behind them, the easy money. They can talk to you, put the deal together, you sign it. As soon as they're talking to you, they're selling the stock down. They're buddies. And then they give you your own money because they've been selling stock they don't own. They give that money to you, and then they keep selling, and they keep selling. And it changes your life. You go from entrepreneur to having a boss. You're working for your banksters. And anyway, in the case of Vocal, that's going, in my judgment, with that one caveat, in my judgment, they'll destroy that stock downward. GDC is down, but remember it's at 260. That is potentially a short squeeze play. I left my notes over there, but there's something like 1 million 3. No, there's 1 million shares in the float. 1,000,003 in the float. Wrong. 1 million shares in a float. A group of investors own 1,000,003. And that's just one group of investors. So that's a punt. That's a punt. GoLogic is up, but very light trading. That's up 10 cents. CVM, which is one that we haven't talked about, that's down. Wolf is down. CLNV is, up. Not a lot, but it's up. And then NWBO is also down. So this is after 1 week of trading. I'm trying to see what the January effect is on a portfolio of stocks. I did a video last night. I should put it down here, but HNRA is basically $2. Be interesting to see. I think that stock's headed back to 10 or 12 very, very quickly. All right. Reason for this call, we're 6 minutes in, is to talk about Logic and CAUD. I'm going to start with CAUD because there's both of them. You already know the story, but CAUD, they've got the new CEO, Peter Boards. They've got tremendous board behind them. Elizabeth DeMars, but then there's another woman who's excellent. They got those two board members, and they I want to say Nadine, but that's probably wrong. Sorry. But they have both of them have tremendous experience in finance and deal making. And then you've got an accountant, and you've got the representative of the group who could be where the Quislings are. I don't know. But the thing with CAUD is, as you can see, as soon as they did that financing, the stock gets destroyed. Now, there is a viewpoint that the reason this happened is that NASDAQ halted trading. It certainly didn't help. There's a view forcefully held, that all of this is algorithmic trading all the way down. I'm sure it's all computerized, and I'm sure it's algorithmic. But the point on this point of view is that as they trade down, they sell stock they don't have because they're good clients. They get permission to sell stock they haven't located. There was no stock here. And then slowly stock became available. Because they're good clients, they sell it without owning it. Then they buy it back in the same day. You try that at your brokerage firm. You're not allowed to do it. Try buying stock at the beginning of the day and selling it when it goes higher without paying for it. You can't do it. But apparently the way this theory goes is that what's going on here is just computerized trading where they sell the stock that they don't own, buy it back, sell it, 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 buy it back, all the way down. And the trend is downward because they make money just computerized, selling stock that they haven't located, but they make delivery 15 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 5 hours later by buying the stock back in. If you did that in retail, your account would be closed. So it makes a complete lie to the idea that our markets are a level playing field. I don't think that's what's going on. I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure there's a little bit of it. But when you get a move, when you get a gap down, and then you just get punishment all the way down, this might be a little bit of covering. I don't think so. I think it was guys like we buying it back, buying it, not buying it back, establishing new positions, buying because we thought it was cheap. They keep it down, and I think there's buying going on, and it just is endless. My opinion. Well, you can't prove it. Well, no, I argue you can't prove it on the other side either. My opinion, with about 600,000 shares total in the float, the criminals have sold 60 million shares that don't exist. Now, is it less than that? Sure. It's probably not more than that, because I'm using the total value. But my argument to Adina Friedman, if she cares, it's her marketplace, NASDAQ, lobby for more transparency. Lobby for better numbers. If FINRA can report, because the first theory that I represented is that FINRA is only giving you half the numbers. They're only giving you the sales which were naked short. FINRA isn't giving you when they cover. Well, give you those numbers. Make it a requirement of when you enter the ticket. Of course, the tickets are all lies anyway. There is a reluctance on the part of people who, and me too, spent their career on Wall Street to recognize that it's a group of thugs now, and the cops in charge are paid off. But anyway, my belief is this is a massive short position that hasn't even begun to be covered. And that's why I think it could be an exciting play. You've got a gap here, and I'm seeing this pattern. Look, just because I drew the pattern doesn't mean it means anything. But the lows are higher lows. The volume is declining. I don't know if you can see that. The lows are higher lows. The volume is declining. And to me, this wedge, you're breaking out of it. Of course, you could do a higher wedge, but it doesn't make sense to me. But you could do one. So this could go sideways a little longer. I don't think so. I think when this breaks out, look, the first theory is, maybe there's 1 or 2 or 3 million shares that are short after doing the computerized back and forth that FINRA only reports half of for some reason. I don't think, that's a theory. It can't be proven because the data isn't there. It's making assumption that they're buying it back. Well, my theory is that this whole decline is just massive selling, and this is selling and more selling and more selling and more selling. Why? Because the criminals want to get the company to raise money at the low, and that's what the company did. The company didn't raise more money here or here. It raised money at the very low, $1.23 or something. Dilution. There's 3 things the criminals want. Dilution. They keep selling and they take time. And they want everybody to give up so you sell. And it works. It works over and over and over and over again. People don't want to see it, because then that means we wasted our entire careers on something that's fraud. But anyway, I always get going on that. But CAUD, I think we can get them back. What you have at CAUD, you have a new CEO who I don't think necessarily understands this. He may not have had a choice by the documents, but to give the players, who I think at least one or two or three are criminal, or they're all colluding together, to give the players a chance because of all the risk they took. I mean, they took $100 million, $125 million out of the market here. That's what they did. That's in the NASDAQ. I don't know why CEOs want to go on the NASDAQ. They stole $100 million in market cap from you, from the company. But everyone wants to go on NASDAQ. The current executive team at NASDAQ is incompetent. Or they're complicit. It's just like Gary Gensler. It's just like anyone you talk to. They either don't know what they're doing or they're complicit. There's not any in between. So the question is, has it run its course? I think, I don't want to bring all that up. I've done another video, and I'll do it again, but I don't have it right out in front of me. There's a third-party valuation for DataLogic at 114 million, which when you divide it out, allowing for the extra shares just sold, it's around $7 a share is what it comes out to. That's a third-party valuation. DataLogic, I mean, this is old data. This is from last year. But DataLogic at Q4, annualized revenue of 45 million. 45 million. Now that number was projected to go to 70 million leaving this year. I don't think they're going to achieve that. But that's the power of DataLogic's AI. And that's coming back on stream. The other thing that here it is. DataLogic to get to 70 million by year end in annualized revenue rate. That's what's inside CAUD now. Yes, it may have stutter-stepped a bit, but it's coming. It's coming. So the valuation comes. Post de-SPAC plans. This is what happens with de-SPACs on Adena Friedman's NASDAQ. That's what happens. She's proud of it. Post DLQ SPAC plans. The company believes with the current struggling IPO market, there's potential for M&A candidates. They previously announced a merger to a Privco. Now that's going into Logic, the shell, which I want to get to. But the DataLogic post-SPAC, I guess they're not going to say it here. Well, here, strategic M&A. It's from the same press release. Over the last year, this is for DataLogic, an aggressive M&A program. They did 2 acquisitions with DataLogic, and they've continued to scale. And the current environment represents an opportunity for accretive M&A opportunities. So that's the thing. I'm willing to give Peter Boards a mulligan for doing that financing. But to be clear, he printed the value of CAUD. How do I lose that? How do I lose it? How do I lose the chart? No wonder. He printed the value of the whole company down here. But he only did it for a small amount, but he did it. It's a shame. I think it's a shame. But I'm going to give him a mulligan. I'm going to assume from now on he's going to get that price rising in tranches. But the big thing is they have 3, 4, 5 companies they want to roll up. Now, what's the short who took 125 million out of the market? They want those roll-up deals to be dilutive and do it down in ever lower numbers. Well, that's going to be the fight that Peter has to do. He has to get those companies willing either to do it all at once, so you get synergy. I hate that word. You get synergy and you do it at a higher value, maybe with a slug of warrants at a higher price. Guys, the financing, NASDAQ didn't protect us. We were just set up by a sting. But here it is. You believe in our story. We believe in our story. Let's get this all done at $5. 5 companies with a valuation of $5. And not only do we think it'll be $7, $10, we think that combined group of companies is worth $25 a share. And more than that, we believe the market and institutions will drive it there immediately because of the visible revenue, visible cash on the books, and the tremendous synergy of 5 new companies coming in with the data logic platform. That's what I hope Peter Boards does. But anyway, in the meantime, on the chart, this is starting to break out. It's going higher. I think you're going to see it run to the this blue line is 5.5. The red line is the 200-day average. That's at 940. But I really think it's coming. It's going to, when it, like a cork underwater, when you let go, it's going to pop up. I think it's going to go back to that gap. And to fill that gap is around $25. And I did my upward line, took it up here. It confirmed it. All right, so that's my talk on CAUD. Let's quickly go to logic. It's 22 minutes, good. I let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Logic announced a year ago that they were going to do a deal with a private company valued at $250 million for the shell, a reverse merger. A reverse merger simply, it used to be a minnow buying a whale, but a reverse merger, I had it here. I need somebody sitting right next to me to give me the pieces of paper all in a row. Here it is. A reverse merger occurs when a smaller private company buys a larger public company. That's the basic definition. But why would you do it? It's basically to avoid having to go through the IPO process, which can take time. And it also saves costs. And if you find the proper reverse merger candidate that is current in its filings, has no black marks, and is already trading, you can finalize going public in just a few weeks. And that's the value of a shell. So Logic now is a shell. It's a shell. Logic has, this is what I'm talking about, Logic. I'll hold it up again, Logic. Logic has right now 140 million shares outstanding. And I've got to prove that to you. But it'll take me a second to find. Here it is. First paper on my stack of papers. From OTC Markets, Logic has 143 million shares outstanding. Now it's a shell. Logic is just a shell. It's a name. And in a way, it's a closed circuit on itself. It doesn't need any more shares. It doesn't need any more money. It doesn't have to go back to the criminals. So when a buyer comes in, they're just buying this shell. Now they will expand it after purchase so that we get our ownership and they have their ownership. But the point is the strategy, which, by the way, after that financing was taken with Aubrey Spack and Chandron and Polar and the lawyers and Brownstone, they set about destroying Logic as well. They shorted the heck out of it. Now, again, there's the theory. It's computerized trading. FINRA only reports the tickets that are marked short or not located. FINRA doesn't report that in 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 minutes, they bought it back. Well, you know, they're both theories. And I don't think we should have to have the debate. I think Adina Friedman should be lobbying Congress and the SEC for full disclosure so she can protect her market, the shareholders and her CEOs. Otherwise, it's just a killing fields. It's just a killing fields. They're shooting apples in a barrel, fish in a barrel. That's what they're doing. So anyway, Logic went down just like it. But what's the difference? What's the difference? Logic doesn't need to take any more money. So they have 143, almost 144 million shares outstanding. The stock all day was trading up here where we could have bought in the, and I did, in the 4, 6, 8 range. And that went on for, sorry, that's my eyesight. I really apologize. I really can't see very well out of this eye. That's in the 24, 40 cent, 60 cent range. And those are the ranges I bought most of my shares of Logic, right in through here. My average price now is down to 15 cents, which coincidentally, let me just show you, on a smaller graph, Logic has this gap. I think that's where we're headed. And that's 16 cents. That's 16 cents. I tried to do a little bit of pennant drawing here. I think that's wishful thinking. On the other hand, I could be right. And if it breaks out of that, it could easily go to 16 cents, 24 cents. This longer term chart gives you a sense of quite a lot of congestion as the stock goes up. You're going to see selling here, 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 here. But look at this. These are the 3 peaks. My argument would be if the shorts are caught and it goes through there, you could have a nice little pop. Don't get greedy on this. This isn't going to go to, $100 or something like that. But I think you do have a potential if a reverse merger candidate comes in and buys the whole kit caboodle, you really have a chance for trouble for the shorts. That line there is basically 80 cents. Could it go there? Sure. Could it go through it? Sure. I don't have the chart right now, but there's a longer term chart showing $1.25 as a potential place it could go. So anyway, the stock now is 7 cents. It's settling in on the 50-day moving average was resistance. It's now support. To me, the chart just looks fantastic. And just on a smaller image here, I think this is a pennant formation. It breaks through the top of that. It's going to fill this gap. You double your money. If they announce a good reverse merger, You've got targets all in here. I'll give you all those targets. After the 16 cents, you've got 20 cents, 24 cents. Hard to tell. That looks like around 30 cents, 28 cents, and then 40 cents. And all between 28 and 40, I think they'll be selling. But if it gets through that range, if it gets above 45 cents, it really could go to 80 cents. That's on the chart. All right. So they announced they were going to do this $250 million deal back when they had fewer shares out. They let that one go because they got better deals. They got better deals in the summer. And Brent came on and graciously spoke with us. And he pointed out that many companies were coming to him in the 600, 700, and I remember $800 million valuation range. 600, 700, 800 million. With revenues, with cash on their books, and with their own set of investors and I assume institutional interest. Okay, so what does that mean? Look here, just to show you, here's a FINRA report. The argument is this 50% short, this 50% short, this 50% short does not reflect the intraday buying back. Well, I don't believe it. I think you got to show it. Otherwise, if that's true, this data is completely useless. It's meaningless. It's only half the sandwich. All right. So what does it mean? And then I'll sign off. I shall sign off. Just notice one more thing. Logic, the shareholders approved the de-SPAC on October 25th. The onslaught started in November. That's logic. And then on CAUD, which is Adina Friedman's NASDAQ, they don't care. I can almost understand that Gary Gensler, he's too busy trying to become Treasury Secretary. But when you're the CEO and executive of NASDAQ, you don't care about this? You don't get a daily run of every stock that gets destroyed by hedge funds and say, hey, team, I want a report on this on my desk in 3 days, and we're going to have a meeting in 5. I want to get to the bottom of this. But look, they've had the vote, boom. It opens up trading, NASDAQ stops trading, and then the onslaught begins in CAUD. I think this is coming back to a close, and I think this can snap back. But make no mistake about it, CEOs, if you go on the NASDAQ and you need capital, the criminals are in charge on the NASDAQ markets. The executive suites are overwhelmed. They either do not comprehend what's going on or they're paid off. Okay, so on logic, let's just finish with one quick point on logic. And sorry, this is a little longer. Logic, which I think is my favorite stock for the January effect. And I think HNRC is my second. I think HNRA is my third. And I think GDC and that other one, ZJYL, they're fun to watch. I wouldn't do much with those. But hey, if it works, you have a story. And then obviously, I'm not so sure Finger is going to have a January effect, but I think Finger is the best stock in this world of this universe of stocks are all speculative. you range from extremely speculative to speculative. But in that bubble, Finger is probably closer to the least speculative of them all. And I think should be a $4, $5, $6, $7 stock, just without breaking a sweat in the next few months. And then this video isn't about Finger, but it's got some catalysts. There are some other stocks that could have a nice run up by the end of January, but I think Logic is my favorite. So Logic, let's assume, and you know what happens when you make an assumption. You make an ass out of you and umption. The Long Kissed Goodbye, Samuel L. Jackson, Gina Davis. Brent a couple of times came on and talked about companies ranging from 600 million to 800 million, maybe even higher, that are interested in buying the Logic shell. They just want to buy the shell. Well, it's good there's more than one. It's good that there's the IPO market is a little bit dormant. And it's good there's these private companies that want to come in and buy, and by buying immediately be able to have access to the financial markets. I hope in this case it's the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, so I'm going to use 650 million, not 800 million, not 750, not 700, not billion. 650. I'm also not using the 600 million. I didn't go quite as low as that. On the other hand, when you negotiate to get this done for us, for our ownership, we get to keep 10%, 15%. I'm using an eighth. I'm not using 15%. So anyway, I think 650 million is an interesting valuation. And I think it's possible. So if the acquiring company is worth $650 million, and we as Logic shareholders get an eighth of that, that multiplication divided by the outstanding shares of Logic, 143,855,621, gives a per share target price of 50 cents a share. 50 cents a share. Now, if that gets announced, does the stock immediately trade up? Does it go to a part of that, like half of that value? Does it go to 50 cents, 80 cents, a dollar? We'll find out. We'll find out. But Logic is a trade in my mind, unless when they announce the merger, the reverse merger, you're just so enamored of the new company, then that's a different decision. But right now it's a trade. Okay, now, what does this mean? I should highlight this just to get to the point of why I'm excited. Okay, as soon as Logic sells itself, as soon as Logic sells its shell to the buyer, they're going to do a 1 for 50 reverse split. The vote was to give permission of a 1 for 35 to 1 for 50. I'm assuming the 1 for 50 in this case. So they're going to do a 1 for 50 split at the time of the reverse merger. So that gives 2,800,000, almost 3 million shares in existence for the buying company. But then, it's backwards up there. But then you have to multiply that number by 8 Because in my example, we're going to have 1/8 of the company. So you multiply that number by 8. So the buyer co has 23 million shares outstanding. Then if it is a $650 million value of a company with cash on its books, with revenues, with earnings, and possibly significant investors, then the numerator is 650. You divide it by the 23 million shares, and you get $28 a share. You get a stock worth $28 a share trading on the New York Stock Exchange. I hope. Maybe it's NASDAQ, but I think NASDAQ is where a lot of minefields lay. So anyway, if it is NASDAQ, it is NASDAQ. You've got a $25 stock, New York Stock Exchange, revenues, cash, and a relatively, an attractive number of shares, 23 million shares outstanding in this example. This is all, back of the envelope speculation on the numbers. They will be what they be. But my question to you, what if he announces this within 30 days, something like this, and then what if this engineering happens, and then all of a sudden the criminals who shorted Logic downward, like they were holding a hot potato, they have to cover. I think it's brilliant. So to summarize that, 56 cents a share will probably be equivalent to a $28 stock, I hope, on the New York Stock Exchange. So with that, I wish Elvis Presley a happy birthday, somewhere down in the bayous, still singing Suspicious Minds and wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows, this is really bad, slowly to the sea. This is the best thing that Peter Boards did for Collective Audience. He set up this strategic advisors. I think you're going to be really surprised in both these stocks. And hopefully the pressure that we're starting to put on the markets to clean themselves up is going to put some pressure on the shorts. So in summary, Logic at 7 cents, I think you have a double, very short term, and you have the potential for, I'm doing the arithmetic, if it were to go to 35 cents, 40, 50 cents, I don't know, 5x, maybe more. And you could get a squeeze. Then you have a decision, once this announcement gets announced, by the way, you're not waiting for effort. I believe if Brent makes this announcement, it'll be definitive. It'll have a record date. It'll have an effective date. And my guess is sometime within the next month, you get an announcement. It'll have a 2-week, 3-week fuse, and boom, you have a New York Stock Exchange stock or NASDAQ. But maybe it overshoots the value as the shorts cover, but you have a trade. That's my point. You can decide once that announcement comes, there will be buying pressure. You'll have a chance. Do I get out? And don't be greedy. It's a nice trade. And then on CAUD, we might have to wait a little longer, but I actually think that chart is setting up a bit of a pennant. And I don't think you've even seen Peter Boards begin to fight And as he and his team get out there, and this collective audience brain trust get out there, I think you're going to see that stock drift upward. And if they can do what I say, get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these companies to join all together, and so they can raise money higher than the price is now, combine these higher than the price is now, because when they all come in, it becomes, let's say, a $40 stock. Imagine instead of 70 million run rate, they have a $250 million run rate once they get all those companies in. 2 very exciting plays, 2 January effect trades. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers. We'll talk to you later today.